Today, we're digging into the mind of a legend, Charlie Munger. Now, this guy wasn't just a brilliant investor. He was more like a master architect of an entire system for thinking. And that system, believe it or not, had a surprisingly humble goal. Not to be a genius, but to consistently avoid being what he called a damn fool. And that right there is the central question Munger spent his entire life trying to answer. It's not really about finding some magic key to success. No, it's about a much more practical and maybe way more important goal. How do you just stop being your own worst enemy? You see, for Munger, the secret wasn't some kind of innate brilliance that you're just born with. It was all about systematically building a mental toolbox, borrowing the best ideas from every field imaginable to create this powerful framework for making better decisions. And in his own words, he called it an unfashionable project. He wasn't trying to write some sacred text. He wanted to create a practical guide, a collection of ideas to help you navigate a world where things are always changing. So let's open up that guide and look at his first big idea. Okay, so Munger's foundational concept is what he called the Latticework Mind. To really get it, I want you to picture this. Imagine Munger gathering some of history's greatest thinkers around a table for a little masterclass in clear thinking.
And he poses a simple question to the group, the same question we're all trying to answer, right? How do you develop a mind that can actually see the world as it is, not just how you want it to be?
First up to answer is the physicist Richard Feynman. For him, a mental model isn't just some fancy idea you collect, it's a tool you have to be able to use. And the test of a real tool is super simple. Can you explain it plainly? If you can't, well, you don't really get it. Next, the great psychologist Daniel Kahneman chimes in with a really crucial warning. Your own mind, it will lie to you. That feeling of being totally certain, it's a trap. A truly effective mental toolbox doesn't make you more confident. It actually builds in a healthy dose of skepticism. And Charles Darwin just brilliantly drives home the need for patience. He reminds us that real insight doesn't come from rushing to a conclusion. It comes from being able to just sit with uncertainty and conflicting ideas longer than anyone else is comfortable with. Now, for one of Munger's absolute favorite and most powerful tools, inversion. It's a deceptively simple trick for reframing pretty much any problem you're facing. Think about it. Most of us spend our lives focused on achieving success, right? On creating that great outcome. Munger argues that's completely backward. The much more useful question is, what would absolutely guarantee failure? This is inversion. It's the simple act of turning a problem completely on its head. You figure out what you want to achieve, and then you spend all your time and energy thinking about what you absolutely must avoid to get there. And the process, as you can see, is remarkably straightforward. First, you state your goal. Simple enough. Second, you invert it. You ask, how could I guarantee that I fail at this? Third, you list out all the possible causes. And finally, and this is the key part, you build a system to methodically avoid all those things. That's the whole game. Nassim Taleb just nails it here. The smartest people are often the best at rationalizing really foolish risks. Inversion forces you to be honest with yourself. It's not about your beautiful, elaborate plan for success. It's about identifying that one hidden flaw that could bring the whole thing crashing down. So, how do we actually apply these models in the real world, especially when the stakes are high, like in business and investing? Well, Munger believed in a few core guardrails to keep you out of serious trouble. Just look at the wisdom from these investing giants. You notice a pattern? It all points in the exact same direction. It's not about making genius predictions. It's all about survival. Benjamin Graham's margin of safety, Warren Buffett's focus on being approximately right, and Seth Klarman's obsession with avoiding permanent loss, they're all just different flavors of inversion. This might be Munger's most famous idea of all. He believed that if you want to understand why people or systems behave the way they do, don't listen to their mission statements. Forget their stated values. Just look at the incentives. They explain almost everything. And this shows you just how predictably incentives go wrong. If you only reward results and don't care how they're achieved, you're going to get cheating. If you punish honest mistakes, people will just start lying to cover them up. Incentives aren't a footnote. They are the master switch of human behavior. But even with the best mental models in the world and perfectly aligned incentives, there's one final hurdle. You, your own mind. Munger believed the ultimate battle is always an internal one. It's about mastering your temperament. He drew this critical distinction. Failing from ignorance is one thing. You just didn't know enough. That's fixable. You can learn more. But the far more dangerous kind of failure is a failure of temperament. This is when you know all the facts, but you let envy or fear or pride or impatience drive you to do something stupid anyway.
The Stoic philosopher Seneca understood this perfectly. A strong temperament doesn't mean you don't feel pain or loss. It means you don't add a second, self-inflicted layer of suffering by being outraged about it. You endure the event without letting it shrink who you are.
And Viktor Frankl, writing from the depths of his experience in concentration camps, gave us the ultimate framework for temperament. It's built in that tiny little space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. That freedom to choose, anchored by a real sense of purpose, is what allows you to endure almost anything. So let's bring it all together. What is the ultimate takeaway from this masterclass in clearer thinking? What does Munger's unfair advantage actually look like in the real world? Well, it comes down to these simple but incredibly powerful rules. Darwin teaches us to protect our minds from the poison of certainty. Feynman reminds us not to fool ourselves. Kahneman tells us to trust a solid process, not a fleeting feeling. And Drucker makes it crystal clear: an insight is useless if it doesn't change how you act. All of these point to one ultimate goal. This is the final challenge Munger leaves us with. The ultimate unfair advantage isn't a higher IQ or some secret formula. It's building a mind that maintains its independence, a mind that can't be bought or swayed by the crowd or blinded by ideology or paralyzed by fear. It's a mind that simply sees reality as clearly as it can and acts accordingly.